Fantasy Premier League managers, welcome back to Game Week 17. Game Week 16 threw up some surprises, some disappointments and some high hitters that were unexpected. What has Game Week 17 got in store for us? Only time will tell. We're going to start off by looking at my team, the players that I would recommend from my team, and then we're going to jump into the spotlight for the transfers you should bring in this week. Starting off between the posts is a goalie that I transferred in for Sanchez, and I was super happy with this points hit as David De Gea returned 10 points. Rangnick's side has now kept back-to-back clean sheets in the Premier League, and I am super happy with this. And with the fixtures that they've got upcoming, I'm hoping for more clean sheets and save points like this. Moving on to the back line, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who has once again outscored Mohammed Salah for 2 weeks running now, and he comes up against a Newcastle side that just shipped 4 against Leicester. They're not looking very good, defensively not sound, not the greatest going forwards. Trent has a huge opportunity to pick up some big points here, if not a double point haul. Keep an eye out for him and get him in your team. If he's not already in your team, I don't know why not. Next up, we've got the 2 Chelsea defenders at the back, James and Rudiger, and James has not been impressing, having blanked in his last 3 game weeks, albeit he was benched for one of them. But they come up against an Everton side that haven't been looking too dangerous and actually a bit of a topsy-turvy team, and they've lost 3 of their last 4. I think this is an opportunity for the Chelsea boys to get back on track, keep a clean sheet and get some big points on the board. With that being said, they have been a little bit sloppy lately, so I haven't put a gold trim around them. And James has been prone to picking up a couple of yellow cards recently, so not too impressed with his performances either. Coming into midfield, we've got 2 guys that are going to be looking to add to their golden boot tally this season, and that is Mohammed Salah and Diogo Jota. Salah is obviously going to keep the armband again for me this week. There's only been 1 game week this season where he's not netted an attacking return, and that was game week 2. And there's only been 4 game weeks in the 16 fixtures we've had so far where he hasn't actually scored a goal. So he's scored in 75% of his matches so far this season, and they're playing a weary Newcastle side at home. Salah hat-trick inbound, triple captain time. Maybe. Next on the cards, we've got Bernardo Silva. He's coming up against the Leeds side, and City are always tend to be free scoring. Now, the reason I mention this is it is at the Etihad, and Leeds have conceded 4 goals in their last 2 games. It looks like an opportunity for Bernardo Silva to add to his tally and actually get his highest goals in a Premier League season this weekend, as he's currently equal on 7. Next up, we've got Heung-min Son, who obviously there's been a lot of COVID restrictions going around at Tottenham, but it looks like the Leicester game is going ahead this weekend. And, well, it's not necessarily the best timing for them, as Leicester just won emphatically 4-0 at the weekend. With that being said, we don't know how Spurs are going to react to their time off. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not exactly been a break, especially if a lot of them have had COVID and they are going to have been short of breath in that period. Not a lot of training, not a lot of team emphasis, but Conte has had them in double training sessions. So we'll only see how he does on the bounce back. What I do know is that Son is very good on the counter-attack, and if Leicester do plan on dominating the game and dominating the ball, as the match will be played at the King Power Stadium, is that Son is going to do very well on the counter-attack. And last but not least, we've got the transfer where I shot myself in the foot. I transferred out Conor Gallagher, who picked up a whopping 15 points this weekend, for a Bowen who, well, just got a clean sheet, and West Ham didn't look their best at the weekend against Burnley. Very disappointed. 18th in the table. West Ham were 4th. It was an opportunity to go clear of United and Arsenal by at least 3 points, but instead we've allowed the gap to be 1 and 2 points. And subsequently, we play Arsenal this weekend, who have been a bit of a topsy-turvy team. So they lost to an out-of-form Everton side, but they brushed Southampton apart with ease this weekend by winning 3-0. So who knows what will happen with Bowen. Hopefully he can get back on the score sheet and get some attacking returns, just like my centre forward up top, and that is Antonio, who now hasn't scored in 7 game weeks and has only hit 1 attacking return in those 7 game weeks, which was an assist in that 3-2 Chelsea thriller. Time's ticking for this man. There's not too many other forward options for me to kind of switch him to, which is why I'm sticking with him. And I had other places where I wanted to make changes to my team, but he's now on the clock and he'll be going if he doesn't start returning. Last but not least, we've got Dennis up top, who has been playing very well, and he continues to score under Claudio Ranieri. He's now got 7 goals and 6 assists so far this season, and his fixtures are pretty kind over the next couple of game weeks. I'm hoping that he could turn up against Burnley and bag him another goal or 2. Before we move into the spotlight, I just want to remind you that the players with the gold trim would usually be in the spotlight, but they're in my team and frequently spoke about, which is why they've not been moved over. Now let's jump into the spotlight and start off with the first defender recommendation of this week. First up is Andy Robertson. Now he comes in at 7 million and he's not exactly cheap, but the reason that I'm recommending him is Diogo Jota hasn't actually returned any substantial points within the last 2 game weeks. Now, Robertson's actually done well over the past 4 game weeks, picking up 12, 7, 5 and 8 points respectively. And in that period, he's also got 3 assists to match the 3 clean sheets he has. Now, the reason that I'm considering Robertson is between now and game week 26, he only has 1 5 rated fixture difficulty match and 4 3 difficulty rated fixtures. The rest of them are all 2 rated. And this is an opportunity for Robertson to really show up now and start pressing Trent Alexander-Arnold for the points. Now, you're probably thinking, but I've got Salah, I've got Jota, and I've got Trent. Bobby Firmino is back in training, and whilst he lacks match fitness, it's only going to be a matter of time before he returns to the starting 11 and we see some rotation coming in with Jota. I feel like Jota's time is potentially coming to an end with the return of Bobby, and for that reason I am considering downgrading Jota to a mid-price midfielder and upgrading a defender such as Johnson in my team to a Andy Robertson. It's also worth noting as well that the Chelsea boys, I'm going to be looking to rotate them out around game week 21, 22, which is when their tricky fixtures start, followed by their double blank. And this is a great opportunity for me to go from someone like Reece James straight into Robertson. He'll be a differential as well, as he's only in 3% of teams this season. Don't get me wrong, Andy isn't playing like 18, 19, 19, 20 Robertson could, but there's the potential for him to still regain this season, and I think that he can do it. Next up is someone who may surprise you, someone you may not have thought about, and that is Matty Cash of Aston Villa. With Jarrod at the helm, Villa's performances have started to improve in comparison to what they were under Dean Smith. Now, whilst Cash hasn't had an attacking return since game week 5 and hasn't kept a clean sheet since game week 12, I have got him on recommendation. And first and foremost, he is the 6th most threatened defender in the Fantasy Premier League at the moment. So there is the opportunity that once Watkins and Ings is returning, start to find their form again, I think this man could start delivering assist points like you would expect of Trent at Liverpool. Maybe not to the same volume, but they will pop up. He is obviously a lot cheaper than Trent as well, bear in mind coming in at 5 million. He's only in 3.6% of teams as well, which makes him a big differential. And look at his fixtures. In the next 5 game weeks, he faces Norwich, Burnley, fantastic fixtures, albeit they then face Chelsea, and then has Leeds and Brentford. So the next 5 fixtures, 4 of them are rated a 2 difficulty with only 1 4 rated difficulty fixture. This is a great opportunity for Cash to get some points on the board and for Jarrod to show what his Villa side can do. Moving into midfield, it would feel criminal to keep this man out after he's got 5 attacking returns in the last 3 game weeks. And don't get me wrong, it's not always about chasing the points, but it does show that this man is in form and he's played every minute of every Premier League fixture over the last 3 game weeks. Mason Mount isn't a long-term option for me. He's going to be like a 4-week game option. He's going to get you to the new year where you could potentially look at using your wild card to bring him out as you change your team up as Chelsea's fixtures take a turn for the worse. In game week 21, they face Liverpool. Game week 22, they face City. Game week 23, they face Spurs. And game weeks 24 and 25, they have a blank for the FIFA World Cup. Now, don't get me wrong, you're probably going to want to get them back from game week 25 onwards as their fixtures look amazing. And they don't have another 4-rated difficulty game until game week 34 when they face West Ham again. But Mason has been very influential in this Chelsea side. He has been playing well. He's got 3 goals in the last 3 games as well as 2 assists. That superb volley against West Ham as well was worth noting. So he has got it in the locker. And what can he do against the next 4 sides that he faces? Everton, bit topsy-turvy. Wolves, not in the best of form. Villa, we've already spoke about how they're trying to be reinvigorated under Jarrod. And then a Brighton side who seem to have slightly lost their way. At 7.6 million, he's actually a good price point for someone like Jota to transfer into, with Jota's minutes potentially coming into question. Speaking about Jota, I mentioned about downgrading him to a reasonably priced midfielder. Now, Odegaard is one of these midfielders. He's valued at 5.4 million. He started the past 4 game weeks for Arsenal, scoring in 3 of them. And in the next 7 game weeks, he faces sides such as Leeds, Norwich, Wolves, Burnley and Wolves again. So there's the opportunity for him to come on, play some games, sit him on the bench for the trickier fixtures, such as West Ham and City. But at 5.4 million, this guy is a good bench option that can come on, good rotation over the Christmas period as players may or may not start. We saw Vardy not get a minute this weekend. And this man is someone who could come on from the bench if you have benched him, but potentially pick up points, or you could start him from the get-go. He's only in 2.6% of teams, so if you have got him and he does return like he has in the last 3 game weeks, it could help you with those green arrows. Finally, we've got a striker to recommend for you. I mentioned earlier in the video how I'm struggling to find a replacement for Antonio, but I think I may have found him, but I want to give it another week or 2 just to see which one of these does better. So the gentleman I am going to recommend, based on the fact that he's been playing more minutes, is Ollie Watkins of Aston Villa. We've already spoke about how good their fixtures are over the next 5 game weeks, with just that Chelsea fixture being a tricky one. But in the next 2 game weeks, he plays 2 of the relegation battle teams in Norwich and Burnley. This is an opportunity for him to get more goals, and he's valued at 7.6 million. So he doesn't break the bank, but he's reasonable enough to think that he's actually a decent striker, and he's shown us what he can do in the Prem. Having picked up 14 goals and got 9 assists last season, he's currently on 4 goals and 1 assist this season. And that's not too bad given how diabolical Villa started this season, and I'm sure that Jarrod will find a way of getting him involved in the goals. My only question here is we saw a cameo from Danny Ings, who played quarter of an hour at the weekend, and he's valued at 7.7 million, and we all know how much of a good striker Ings is, and he scores against anyone, even Chelsea. So I'm monitoring this situation personally, but if you're looking for a different forward because you're fed up with Antonio or Wilson or whoever else you've got up top, look at Watkins, look at Ings, look at their fixtures, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Okay guys, so that's all we've got time for this week. I hope you've enjoyed. If you are stuck on any transfers, let me know your team below and I will give you my opinion, my recommendations. I always reply before the deadline comes in, and I tend to reply within an hour or so as I have notifications go directly to my phone. Alternatively, you can tweet me on my Twitter account, which is Zenith_UK, the same as my YouTube handle. But until next time, take care and good luck.